The Week 8 Bye-mageddon is here. Who are you starting at team defense? Let's talk about that. Hello everyone. Once again, it is me, Matt Record, here with IDP Plus, here to talk to you about team defenses that I think you should consider streaming in Week 8. Again, for those that do not know, for me to consider a streaming defense, it is going to be a defense that is owned or rostered in lower than 50% of ESPN league. So someone that might be available for you on the waiver wire to fill in this week. And what a week this is, a whole lot of buys. So of all of the weeks that there are in the NFL season, this is one that you might consider streaming a defense more than others. So let's get right into it. The first team defense that I would like to talk about would be the Atlanta Falcons. They're currently the 14th best team defense and special teams. They are only rostered in 18.6% of leagues. And what did they do in this last week? So they played a pretty formidable San Francisco 49ers team. Yes, they're still led by Mac Jones, but they're starting to get more healthy, slightly more healthy. And of course, they still have Christian McCaffrey. So that is still a really, really good team. And what did they do? They held them to only 20 points. They had a sack, 7 tackles for a loss, a few pass defense, 4 QB hits, so they were around the QB. And they did have an interception. Caden Ellis did grab an interception. So all in all, a pretty decent day on the defensive side. I don't know what that ended up being for scoring, but that's a pretty good day. But why we're talking about them is Week 8 is because they're playing the Dolphins, who are the 22nd ranked team for your team defense to be playing. So 9th best. They are the 9th best team for your team to play. The Dolphins are in disarray. Obviously, they lost Hill a few weeks ago. But they're sticking with Tua, even though he's on pace for just a disastrous season, a whole bunch of turnovers. There's not a whole lot of playmakers that scare you there. Obviously, you still have Jalen Waddle, but you can really focus in on him. And that offensive line is not really doing Tua many favors. So the Falcons, again, they're ranked 14th, so they're already a borderline plug-and-play team from a, production perspective this year already in your standard 12-team leagues. And them only being rostered in 18.6% of leagues is a bit crazy, and they're getting the 9th best opponent this week in the Dolphins. So that is one that I would absolutely be looking to grab this week for your Week 8 lineups. All right, moving on to my next team defense I would consider streaming, and that would be the Los Angeles Chargers, which is fun because I talked about the Chargers defense last week as a defense that I would want to fade because this week they played the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts continue to be doing Colts things. So this is partially why the Chargers are ranked as the 21st quote-unquote best team defense in the league right now. They are rostered in 18% of leagues even. And yeah, what did they do against these Colts? Well, they gave up 38 points, so that's not ideal. Obviously, the Colts team is cruising. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do there? But all's not lost. They did have a sack. They had 3 tackles for losses, 4 pass defense, 5 QB hits, no interceptions, no fumble returns, nothing of the sort there. So not the best day, but why? So why are they being considered here in a streaming spot? Well, look who they're playing. They're playing a Vikings team that we don't really know who's going to be there at quarterback. It's going to be a hobbled person either way. And look at that rank there for the Vikings. They are the 5th best team for your team defense to be playing, which is a crazy thing to say going into this year. We sort of expected J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, once Addison came back from his suspension, Aaron Jones, Hawkinson. There's a whole bunch of names that are relevant on the offensive side of the ball here for offense. So we thought the Vikings were going to be a better team than they have been, but they've been bad. They've been bad. I mean, they've not lived up to expectations, hence their 28th opponents rank, fifth best team for your team to be playing. So yeah, the Chargers, it's a little bit of a prayer shot here compared to some of these other ones because one of these weeks we maybe expect for the Vikings to figure it out and actually put together a pretty good offense, but I'm not sure it's this week. The Chargers definitely a worse option than the Falcons in terms of the streaming perspective, but I could see why you could get excited about the Chargers here in this matchup. The next one, number 3, would be the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is some degenerate streaming shenanigans here. The Bengals are currently ranked 31st of 32 team defenses, which is why they're only rostered in 2% of leagues. Now, going into the year, we expected the Bengals defense to not be great, but we did not expect them to be this bad. I mean, any defense that has Trey Hendrickson on it and some of the defensive backs that they have, we could expect them to get some splash plays and be relevant in the team defense scene. Has not been the case at all this year. In fact, on Thursday night, last Thursday night, the Bengals did win. They beat the Steelers 33-31. Giving up 31 points is not ideal. The Bengals had 0 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, 6 passes defended, 2 QB hits. Did have 2 interceptions, which is always great to see from a team defense perspective. Now, why on earth would we be talking about the Bengals, again, the 31st ranked team defense in the league as a streamer? Well, they're playing the New York Jets. Talk about bad teams. I'm surprised that the Jets are still only the 6th best offensive team for your team defense to be playing. I suppose Justin Fields did a little bit early on in the season, but boy, has that ship sailed. Fields benched in this last game. We expect the backup to be in Tyrod Taylor. You don't really. Garrett Wilson's hurt. So everyone's hurt. The vibes in New York, both Jets and Giants right now, but specifically in this case, the Jets, the vibes are bad. The offense is bad. The Bengals did have a little bit, I'll say hype, but they had some value going into the year. This is really a get-right spot here for the Bengals. I do not see the Jets figuring it out with Tyrod Taylor. So Bengals, you could do a lot worse than them streaming this week. It's a gross one. You're not really going based off of anything that the Bengals have done this year, but truly matchup dependent. I like them. And finally, we have the Buffalo Bills team defense, currently ranked 24th in the league, rostered in 38% of leagues. Now, this one might be a little bit of cheating in terms of calling them a streamer. They're rostered in under 50% of leagues, though. Maybe because they're coming off a bye and a lot of people, like myself included, play this streaming game where I only will roster one team defense at a time to maximize those roster spots for other positions. So people dropping the Bills here maybe drops them below the 50% mark. But hey, that means they're available right now if someone else in your league did this. Now, I would not necessarily waste a waiver claim on them, but if they're still around in the waiver wire, just to pick them up, go ahead and do it. Why? Well, that's because they are playing the Panthers, the 8th best team offense for your team defense to play. So the Panthers, while they have won some games here recently, they haven't really done it by scoring too many points. So the Panthers did just play the Jets, whom we just talked about, but they only put up 13 points. The Panthers are known for turning the ball over. Again, Bryce Young, I think, got hurt. Unclear if he's going to be playing. So definitely something to be monitoring. But even if he's playing, the Panthers' offense is not very scary. The Bills are getting healthy. They have a nice bye week. There's everything in the press has been talking about how the 2 games for the Bills before they went on their bye, they lost the 2 games. The Patriots and the Falcons. Everyone's talking about how the Bills are in disarray. They've had 2 weeks to get healthy, figure it out. They've had 2 weeks to game plan for this Panthers team that's very game plannable against. So in terms of bounce back games, I think the Bills are going to have a huge opportunity here. I think they're going to take advantage of that and put up some really nice numbers for you and your team here in Week 8. So as a summary, the team defenses I would consider streaming here. the Falcons going against the Dolphins. I mean, the Falcons have been borderline great all year. I'm going to say borderline is in 14th, so right on the cusp of being an every week starter. And they play a Dolphins team that's complete disarray. So Falcons are my number one waiver wire target for streaming team defense this week. You have the Chargers playing a Vikings team that's yet to figure it out. You have the Bengals in what's going to be a very gross game, Bengals versus Jets. I expect that to be pretty lopsided, I think, towards the Bengals, since we expect them to have a decent offense. So the pass rushers there for the Bengals are going to be able to get after whoever's playing quarterback for the Jets, as they are in, I keep saying disarray, but they're in disarray. I like the Bengals. And then, of course, I just talked about it. The Bills, currently ranked 24th, but going against a Panthers team that's yet to really put it together on offense. The Bills are hungry to get back in the win column. They've had 2 weeks to prepare. I really like them this week as a streaming defense because they're available in 62% of leagues. As always, I'm also going to talk through a couple of the team defenses that I will likely be avoiding this week due to who they're playing. So right off the gate, we're going to talk about the Houston Texans. They are ranked 9th, so they have been really good. I mean, the defense has playmakers all across the board, but I'm a little wary of them. I'm wary because they're going up against a 49ers team that is getting healthier. So you don't like going against Christian McCaffrey. We expect Brock Purdy might be back. Their wide receivers are getting healthier. Now, the 49ers have gone through some trouble, which is why they're ranked 26th. So, on paper, the Texans are a great team to start this week, but the 49ers, they know how to game plan. They know what they're doing there on offense. They're going to take away opportunities for the Texans players to do too much damage. And yeah, I don't know. There's just something about the vibes of this game. It feels like a 49ers get right game. The Texans are going to struggle. So I would be fading the Texans this week if you can. Up next, we have the Broncos. Now, the Broncos, they by far the best scoring team defense last year. They are currently ranked 5th. So for those of you that have held on to them, they're doing great this year. However, maybe this is a bit of recency bias because they did give up 32 points to the New York Giants this week without doing too much elsewhere. I guess that's a bit of a fib. They had 4 sacks, 8 passes defended, an interception. So they did fine this week. They did more than fine this week. They did pretty well, even though they gave those points. But they're going up against a Cowboys team that is just on fire offensively. Dak Prescott has figured it out. CeeDee Lamb came back this week from injury, absolutely crushed it. So there's dynamic playmakers all over the field for the Cowboys offense. And, a savvy veteran quarterback that might not stick around for the 4 sacks that Jackson Dart stuck around for. So I don't know. This is one of those, strength versus strength games where you have the Cowboys with a great offense versus the Broncos with a great defense. I lean towards the Cowboys here in terms of getting it done there and reducing those other splash plays for your team defense. So if you have the Broncos, I would understand why you would just keep playing them, but don't say I didn't warn you. And finally, team defense I would be fading would be the Bears. So they make this list because they are ranked as the 11th best team defense. They keep turning the ball over, which, great for them. But turnovers are hard to predict. And they're going against a Ravens team, and we keep waiting for the Ravens to wake up. That has a lot to prove. So the Ravens are coming off a bye. We still don't know who's going to be playing at quarterback. So we know as of Monday, Lamar Jackson still wasn't practicing, which is not a great sign. So if Lamar does not get trotted out there, the Bears become way more viable of a team to play. But if Lamar is playing, the Ravens, 1-5 start, have a whole lot to prove. They're still technically in the playoff hunt. They can rip off. They have a really easy schedule, starting with the Bears here, where they can rip off a bunch of wins to still be in it. So they're, you're going to be in desperation mode. And, Lamar comes back, they're going to be full of energy. And I don't know. I would just avoid the Bears there with him. If Lamar's not playing, I can see why you'd play them. The Ravens will still be hungry, but it's not going to be as good for the Ravens side of things if Lamar's not playing. So with that, the three team defenses I would fade: Texans, Broncos, Bears. I would understand why you would play all 3 of these, but I do think there might be some better options out there if this is one of your do or die weeks, which, it has It could be. It could be. That all being said, my name is Matt Record with IDP Plus. I certainly hope you are still in your fantasy leagues and you're still paying attention. There's a whole lot of opportunities out there for you to continue to make progress towards making the playoffs and winning that championship. I'm just happy that I get to be a part of it. I will talk to you all next week.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.
Peace.